If you love the taste of mature, aged red wine and you don't have an unlimited budget, I'm telling you, you gotta be drinking Rioja. Rioja was actually one of my first loves when it came to wine. It was one of the first fine wines I was exposed to. It's the area in the north part of Spain, very close to the Basque Country. Fun fact, Rioja is named after the river Oja, Rio Oja. Wine has been produced in Rioja for a long time. However, in the mid-19th century, when powdery mildew and then phylloxera started to affect Bordeaux, merchants started going elsewhere to find sources of wine. That's where they ended up in Rioja. Rioja's business started to boom. Actually, the first time I went there to Haro, which is one of the main capitals in Rioja Alta, one of the people at Arlopez de Heredia winery told me that Haro was the first city in Europe to actually have electricity. I don't know if that's true or not. I know that a rail line went in. There was a lot of wine shipped from Rioja over to Bordeaux. There are some very old companies there that were established in the late 19th century. At the turn of the 20th century, phylloxera finally came to Rioja, wiped out a lot of vineyards, really decimated the industry. It wasn't until the 1960s, 1970s that the region was revived with help from international investment. So the wine has history, it is unique, it's delicious, and right now it's super affordable. Rioja is in northern Spain, really close to the Basque Country. However, there's a set of mountains that separate it from the cool Atlantic air, and it's noticeable. I remember the first time I went to Rioja, I was coming from San Sebastian in the Basque Country, which is known as a cool, wet area. It was late July. It was beautiful. I think it was probably 75, 77 degrees. Then when you crossed over into Rioja, it was extremely hot. I mean, we're talking 90, 92 degrees. Speaking in Fahrenheit, Rioja produces reds and whites, although 92, 93% of the entire production is reds, based on a couple of grape varieties, mostly Tempranillo. There is some Grenache, Mazuelo, which is known as Carignan. Also, Graciano. There is a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon and even Merlot permitted, but that's not really ever listed on the label. Usually, the finer Riojas are based on Tempranillo. There's 4 different categories of Rioja. 3 of them are age. First, you have Joven, which is young wine. This is wine that's meant to be sold fresh, easy drinking. The 3 categories I have here today are Crianza, Reserva, and Gran Reserva. Crianza, or we would say Crianza in English. Crianza can only be released 3 years after the harvest. It needs to be aged at least 1 year in oak. Reserva needs to wait at least 3 years, although a lot of producers keep it from even more. Again, one of those need to be in oak. And then Gran Reserva needs to be kept in the cellar for at least 5 years. 2 of them need to be in oak barrels. On a side note, I have seen some sources give a different age requirement for Crianza. Crianza being 3 years, Reserva being 4, and then Gran Reserva being 6. That's why the wine world's confusing. You don't know what information is right. Let's just say it this way. Crianza is a little bit aged, Reserva is more aged, and Gran Reserva is the most aged. I personally love that Rioja is not very trendy now because you can get great wines at fantastic price points. They hold them in the cellar. Reservas, Gran Reservas, they should be ready to go right out of the gate. Right here, the wines we have are 15, 25, and 49 bucks. Let's see if I can blind taste the difference between these 3 wines. You ready? I'm ready. Let's get tasting. I am super excited to taste these wines. I haven't had Rioja in a long time, tasting on my Gabriel Glas Standart editions. These are universal glasses in the Bordeaux shape. Rioja was designed to be more of a Bordeaux style wine, so they should work great. I have a link in the description box if you want to check them out. It helps the channel if you purchase with that link, so thank you. I am super curious to see if there's a huge difference. Yes, in theory there's a difference, but when you taste blind is always special. It's so funny, I usually don't love oaky red wines. Rioja has this sweet vanilla and just this real subtle toastiness, coconut flavor that I actually enjoy. So I really like Riojas. Let's start out with wine number 1 here. Wine 1 smells really bright, beautiful, beautiful red cherry. It's not too oaky at all. Not at all. I mean, it has just a hint of vanilla essence, but not very much. Earthy. What I love about traditional Riojas, oh, the wood starts to come out a little bit more. Again, doesn't bother me, but Riojas are a little bit more medium body. They're not humongous wines. This has length. This is damn impressive. Let's move on to number 2 here. I think 2 now smells the youngest. 2 has some pine needle type flavors, a little darker fruit, a little darker cherry. Dark cherry, a little bit of rubber, earth. Rubber is sometimes seen as a fault in wine, but I pick up rubber in good Riojas. I don't know why. It reminds me a little bit of that burnt rubber characteristic. I worked on the farm. Sometimes we were changing tires. With a lot of heat, you would smell some of that burned rubber flavor. More fruity, spicy. I think of good Spanish wines to be spicy. That's good. This one here on the left is a little bit more subtle. Wine 2 is a little bit more in your face. Those are pretty good wines to start. If you have somebody that watches the channel, WT, you know who you are. You're always commenting on Spanish wines. Spanish wines were some of my first love when it came to European wines. It's just I'm not as well connected. Sometimes it can be really difficult to get samples of these wines. I think the Spanish are great at a lot of things. They're not very good at marketing. I have to tell you that much right now. The country has so much to offer. The wonderful food, landscapes, people, wine, but you know, it's not as well renowned as France and Italy. It's unfortunate. Okay, number 3 here. Number 3 has a little bit more fruit along with the black cherry. Has a touch of oak. It's powerful. This has a touch of coconut. A lot of earth. There's a little bit more tannin here. Wow, difficult tasting. But I'll tell you what, I'm enjoying this. I'm not even spitting the wine. There's only 3 of them. Plus, I'm just realizing, I need to get back to drinking more Rioja again. I thought this would be a super easy tasting. I'd be able to pick out the differences between the Crianza, Reserva, Gran Reserva. I remember when I was doing my WSET level 3, we did all the wines blind, and I remember we were doing a section, and I knew one was a Rioja Gran Reserva, and I called it right away, and everyone in the class was quite amazed. Turns out it was. I thought it was awesome. I was getting the wines all right that day. Then the next day, I got none of the wines right. You know, that's what happens when you blind taste. Oh man, this is difficult. I'll tell you this much. This comes down to personal preference because all these wines are excellent. Super tough and challenging tasting for me. I'm gonna reveal in the order of age, not by preference. 2 and 3, I was going back and forth between what was with the Crianza and the Reserva in my mind. 3 had a little bit more tannin. However, 2 was just a little bit more fruity. Let me just taste one more time just to double check. Okay, 2, I think is the Crianza. I have it at 91 points. I think that a lot of people actually might think that 2 is the best wine because it's got the most fruits. Let's see, 91 points, I think. I got it right. Number 2, this is the Bodegas Olarra. This is the Cerro Añon, Crianza 2019. It is the youngest. Here's the kicker, 15 bucks, 91 points. This has a Decanter 92 sticker on it. Sometimes I thought, that's just a piece of flair. But this was an excellent wine. This is fairly readily available, and at 15 bucks, I think that's a heck of a buy. Moving up the ladder to the next oldest, I think number 3 is the Reserva. I actually think that this wine, to me, objectively, might be a little bit better wine than 1, but I prefer 1. Personally, that's just my flavor. I have number 3 at 93 points. Yeah, I think it's the Reserva. Let's take a look here. If it's Gran Reserva, I would be shocked. Let me take a look here. Let's see if I get them all right. This is the La Rioja Alta Viña Arana Gran Reserva 2015, 49 bucks. I did give it 93 points. I said this was the better wine. I thought it was the Reserva. Sometimes I think the Reservas can be fantastic values. You look at wines like Arlopez Heredia, their Viña Tondoña is excellent. Things like Mugas Reserva Especial. This is La Rioja Alta. Their Ardanza Reserva is one of my favorite wines. This comes in at 49 bucks. This was, to me, the best wine in the taste objectively. I thought that this was the Gran Reserva. So, I am shocked. I gave this one here, number 1, 92 plus points. I thought it was the Gran Reserva. It is the Reserva. It's more delicate. That's why I think I liked it more. This is the La Rioja Alta Viña El Verde. This is the Reserva 2018, 25 bucks. 92 plus points. I thought it was outstanding wine. I'm a little disappointed in myself, although I guess I did pick up that Gran Reserva was a better wine blind, but you know, in this instance, I'm going to prefer to drink the Reserva, and at 25 bucks, I guess that's a little bit better of a deal. So tell me, do you drink Rioja? Do you have a favorite style, Crianza, Reserva, Gran Reserva, or Joven, the young one? Maybe you like just young fresh wines? I'd love to hear it in the comments below. What a tasting. I'll see you soon.